Hi, my name is Amy Candell. I teach ceramics here at the high school, and this show is called Pandora's Box. It is open through May 13th, and it's open to the public. We'd love to have you come. It features the boxes made in clay tube, as well as flower vases, and pieces made by the sculpture class. And it's called Pandora's Box because of the idea of the mind being open to possibilities and things coming from the imagination, like Pandora's Box. And we hope that you can make it.
So does it have anything to do with like the religious belief of Pandora and her box, the myth of her?
Well, the myth is a very interesting myth because the idea is that you shouldn't open the box because you don't know what's going to happen. In this case, it's sort of the idea of the imagination. And when you open your imagination, you really don't know what's going to come out. And in my classes, I really encourage people to think about dreams. One of the projects is called The Dream and the Dreamer. And like, for instance, in this piece here, it's a jar, so it actually opens. And the space on top of the head is really the landscape for the expression. And the students would start with a phrase. This one is, you want to feel as free as a flower, and so the head becomes the flower. And the idea of each one of the heads opens, so you can not only have like an idea of it being symbolic of the open mind, but things can go inside, and the piece becomes sort of a living sculpture.
Also, there's like the intrigue and the mystery that you don't know what's inside of the sculpture to begin with.
Exactly.
So it's sort of just like Pandora's box, you didn't know what's inside when you
want
opened
to open it. Pretty hard. So you make it like a solid cavity. And then you cut through it with the kite string, and that becomes the lid connection, which is really, really fun. So in this case, this vase was made out of white clay, and then it was painted with color while it was still wet, and then the artist went through and scratched back out the white. That's called scorfido, which is an Italian word that means to reveal what's underneath.
Okay.
Fin is a rubber stamp that Sabina made, and then pressed it into the clay so that it would be like a repetitive unit. So they're exactly the same on both sides.
That way you can create like a symmetry without having like a perfect picture.
This was a wheel thrown cup made by Peyton Whalen, and it's the same technique as what he would use on the slab. He pushed his finger from the inside to push out the mountains, and but it started out as just a wheel thrown cup. And this is our mocha clay body. It's the brown and the white clay mixed together.
So it started out like it didn't have the handle and it didn't have the texture like the carving on the side. That looks like it was added on after, so it was just a cylinder to start.
That's right.
And then he adds on after he's created like the base.
Yeah, just like Isabel mentioned earlier, there's 3 ways to use clay. So the first one is displacement. So you're taking a solid piece of clay, you're spinning it on the wheel and opening it and changing its shape.
So you're molding it in that case.
Exactly. The second one is addition. You're making a handle and then adding it.
Yep.
And then the third one is subtraction. He went in here with a tool to clean it up and move stuff away.
So you remove the clay and what you have left is what you've carved out of
Exactly.
it.
And that's also what happens on the foot. You turn it upside down and spin it and take away extra clay. So addition, subtraction, and displacement.
So all like the white dashes there, that's them carving the painted clay away after they painted it and it's all solid to get that texture.
Exactly. Yeah, and then those circles are addition.
Because they had to add that on after they made the base, and then they made additional clay pieces.
Exactly.
Okay. And then you said with addition you have to worry about cracking because it's not the original piece, so it's harder to stick to it, right?
Exactly. When you do addition, you always want what you're adding to be the same clay dryness as the part you're adding it to.
Yeah,
because if they dry at separate rates, then it causes the cracking.
Okay. So you want them to dry together so that they sort of bond.
Exactly, yeah. Because things shrink when they dry, and if they shrink at different rates, then they part.
Yep.
things shrink 12.5% from wet to glaze. It's pretty massive. So this is a box made for dog bones, and each one of the panels is a piece of clay. So essentially, in building this box, as many panels as there are sides is where your addition is. And in this case, this lid was made separately.
Okay.
So it's just 4 sides, 5th for the bottom, 6th for the top.
Now, when you use, like, because you have on the front, you can see the bones are sticking out from the surface, as well as the doghouse. And then on this side, you see the bones are inlaid as well as the paw prints. So was that subtraction, like, did they subtract around the bones in the doghouse on this and then subtract, like, to get the shape there too, or did they add anything?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So what happens here is everywhere that you see pushed in was a raised part of the rubber stamp.
Oh, so this
You
is
have
stamped.
to think
Okay.
in the reverse with your
Yep.
rubber stamp. Yeah.
So they carved out the doghouse and the bones, right,
That's correct.
into the rubber stamp, and
That's
then when
right.
they press it, everything gets like pushed back, and then whatever they carved out gets pushed forward.
Exactly.
And then on this side, the stamp, they carved out everything. It would have to be, so they carved out everything except for the paw prints and the bones, and they pushed those parts in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, in this case, the paw prints and the bones were the cutout parts.
Yep.
And so they're cut out, they're glued onto another piece of rubber, and then rolled
Yep.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're actually just put on a flat slab and then rolled with a rolling pin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
you just pull it off like a piece of paper.
Hi, my name is Isabel Pellegrini, and I'm part of the sculpting class here at NRHS. And these are my pieces of artwork here. This is the Dream and Dreamer project. Along the base, I stamped "Beauty is a Journey." You can't really see the back of it, but I kind of wanted to represent the metamorphosis, like from a closed flower into an open flower, and a flower, or not a flower, a butterfly. And that's kind of like the balance between the physical world and like the dream world. And then this one is a relief, and we started with a flat slab of clay, and we pushed it from the bottom and pressed it down to create displacement between the sky and the mountain and the trees in the mountain. And then we used addition to put the eagle right in the middle. And that just shows how it just shows like the depth of the scene when you push things in and pull things out.
To sort of create more of like a, a visual intrigue, because you can see the depth. It really sort of brings the art to life.
Yes, exactly.
Hi, I'm Rachel Mulcahy, and these are my pieces. This is my Pandora's box, and I did a sort of like rising little nubby things, and my quote or word was rise above, so I kind of had them go from small to one side that's bigger, so it would show the rise. And then I made these fish in my independent studies class, and I carved little shallow pools for the glass to melt in, and then melted glass when it was fired.
Okay. And with the quote "rise above," does it also have any symbolism in the meaning because the piece is above the head? It's sort of raised above the mind.
Yeah, that's true too. I didn't really think about it that way, but I like that.
And I like the contrast because it looks like it's sort of dull colors all the way until the lips, which has the red paint on it. Was that intentional to sort of create
Yeah, I
focus
wanted
there?
to exaggerate like the certain features. I also put just plain clear gloss on the eyelids and like the nose and the cheekbones, like the high points of the face. Because I didn't want to put any real glaze on the color of the clay,
Yeah.
because I like the color.
Because you wanted to keep it like the original
Yeah,
color that it
I
fired
wanted to
in.
keep it natural, and then so also it would contrast the like matte face with the shiny color on it.
So there's even more contrast to the part that's saying rise above.
Yeah, exactly. And same, you can't really see it in here, but I carved rise above in the back and put glaze in the back, so you could really see the contrast
Yeah, so it
there
pops
too.
out a little bit so you can
Yeah.
actually see that it's intended to be red. And with the fish, I was talking to your teacher yesterday. She said there's you can mold clay, add or subtract clay from it. So how did you get so this would be subtraction, would be the scarring that you did?
Yep, this is all subtraction pretty much.
Okay.
And then I started with just a slab, and then I had this template, and I rolled the template into the slab so you could really see it would imprint on the clay. And then I cut around, and then I just used this little loop tool and carved out the scales.
Yeah, that way you can give it sort of a texture. And then you said you melted the glass, right? So it's
Yep.
not like glass pieces that you fit in, you actually melted it into the clay.
Well, it is like little shards of glass, like little pieces, and those little like circle things, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And you just put them in while it's bone on already fired clay, because you have to fire it twice. And you just lay it in a little area that it can cool in, because it melts, and then when it's cooled, it looks like that.
Yeah, and that way you get the shape, of like the curve and the scale that you wanted.
Yeah. And well, I had carved these, like the shapes carved before, so it had somewhere to melt into. So, because if you just melt on a flat piece of clay, it'll literally just run off pretty much, because it's completely liquid.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving me an interview and thank
Yeah,
you for telling us
thank
about your
you.
project.
Hi, I'm Peyton Whalen. These are my projects as part of the Pandora's box exhibit. This is my head, and then these two fit along the feature as mountains.
Okay, so with the head, there's snakes sort of crawling from fire in the back. What was that to symbolize? What did you put those there for?
Well, the quote I used to base off of my piece was, "We see what we want to see." So what happens is, you have all of the bad thoughts, all of the demons per se, in the back of your mind, kind of blocked from view. You can't really see it, and then you have clouds for thoughts.
Okay, so it's
Head
sort
in the
of,
clouds.
head in the clouds,
Yeah.
basing off that pun. And what's with was it intentional to make the paint on the face look sort of tribalistic?
Yeah, the tribal type paint was to kind of symbolize how the more spiritual you are, the more connected to the rest of everything you'll be, and the better you'll be able to have thoughts.
Yeah, so that was to inject some sort of spirituality into
Yeah.
it, besides just that it looks like almost a resemblance to hell or heaven.
Yeah,
I'd say,
the back
because-
is definitely hell, and then the top is definitely heaven.
because of the clouds. So with the slab piece here, what did you envision? Because it looks like there's a door in the middle or something.
There is, yeah.
So how did that play in?
You're kind of opening up consciousness to the rest of the world. The mountains it's supposed to be mountains and then clouds in the middle, and then the top is the door. So you're already at the highest point, so then you open the door and it just opens up a whole new world.
So it's sort of like alluding to ascendancy, and
Yeah.
once you get there, you can still rise higher. So there's always more to explore.
Exactly. It's exactly what I was going for.
And with the cup here, how did you get that texture on it? Because it looks like you had a base cup and you obviously attached a handle, but how did you get the sort of mountainish piece on there?
I threw the cup normally, and then after it would dried a little bit, I pushed out the sides and then kind of used a tool to form the mountains, make it more of an edge.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving me an interview.
Okay, I'm Sam Barnard, and I take sculpture with Amy, and these are the two pieces I did. And this is my Pandora's box, and it says, I want to feel as free as the flowers. So that's why I did the flower crown on the top, and I used a lot of addition to get the petals. And the head just comes off, and you can put whatever inside of it, so that's pretty cool. And then this is my clay relief, and we massaged from the back of the piece and did displacement to get it popping out of the back of the actual piece, so that one is pretty cool too. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. With the quote on the Pandora's box, "I want to feel as free as the flowers," does that have any personal meaning, or is that?
Well, it took me a while to find like something I liked, and I thought that one was really cool just because it's like really, I don't know, like nature, like being in touch with nature, I think is pretty cool. So yeah, that's why I chose it. And I doodle flowers like all the time, so I thought it would go well with
So
it.
you're experienced in creating flowers in art then?
I guess a little, yeah.
And on the back, what's the piece that winds around it?
Oh, it's sort of like a vine. It starts over here and there's like
Yep.
a little swirl, and then it just goes to the back
Okay.
of the head, yeah.
And when you created the slab piece here, what was the inspiration for this? Because it looks like there's a mermaid in the sea. Was
Yeah.
there anything specific that made you want to create a piece about a mermaid, or?
Well, I was gonna do like waves anyway, like sort of like an ocean scene, and then Amy wanted me to become a little more creative and like elaborate, so I looked up the mermaid, and I saw that one I liked, and I thought I could do something really cool with her hair and her tail. There's like a lot of like definition in it.
Yeah, it looks like you used a lot of different pieces of clay
Yeah.
to create
So-
sort of the volume and the texture.
And I really like the way it turned out, so I'm glad I did a mermaid.
Well, thank you for giving me an interview.
You're welcome.